So now I'm here, and we're here. Yay. So it's Major Arcana night, and we're going to talk about the Major Arcana, just a few classes, just a few cards in the Major Arcana of the Tarot. I have 3 different decks here that I'm going to be working with tonight. And if anybody is watching this afterwards, you can just access this and you can pull up these cards and you can look at them. I'm also going to have stuff available online here with us. I'm going to have pictures of tarot cards. So you can just put them up on your screen through a website and take a look at them that way and get a good idea of what we're talking about. We're going to start with the Fool card. So we'll get a picture of him available to y'all. There he is. Okay. So here's the Fool card. And he's showing up in the, hi Lisa, how are you? He's showing up in the, isn't this great? This is like cool. This is how I thought we would, you know, do our Skypes as well. This is nice. But with Skype, I can speak to you. Hi, Jay. It's good to see you guys. We're gonna start with the Fool. I just put a picture of the Rider-Waite. There's cats in the background. There's always cats in the background. So I'm gonna pin that up there so you guys can always have him to look at. Anyway. So if you want to, we can discuss the cards themselves. Lisa, you're more than welcome to jump in. I know you've already had class with me, so you're kind of advanced with this stuff. And it may be just for you, mostly a review. So, and then when we get together and we sit down and we discuss your particular needs as a student, we'll go through exactly what you think you need shoring up on. I have a different deck that I think a lot of people hadn't seen before. I'm looking at today. Maybe you have seen it. This is the Crowley deck, and it's very interesting, very different deck, talking about, you know, the growth from maybe from Middle Ages to the Rider-Waite, which is like 20th century, and then we get into Crowley, which is very Art Deco, kind of maybe just before Art Deco. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. But all the symbology and all the cards is pretty much the same all the time. So let's just go. Let's talk about the Fool card. Lisa, you can jump into anytime you want. We have the Rider-Waite Fool card up over here. And we talk about him being, sometimes people believe that, we're not going to go, you know, by the way, we're not going to go through every major arcana today. That's impossible. But we'll go through some of them and we'll see how it goes. If you want to invite friends, now I have a little thing that just came up for me. If anybody you know is kind of interested in tarot, they might want to know we're on. And if they have time, they'll stop by. And in the future, I'll be doing this like once a month, a free live event like this for a couple of hours on a Thursday night, most likely, or thereabouts, just so we can touch base and talk about cards and have just a good time. No stress. So the Fool card, we'll talk about him. And you can, if you want to click on that picture I sent to you, you can get a larger version of the card. And you can look at it, or if you have your own cards. I like to use Rider-Waite, and most of the time when I start teaching tarot, I start with the Marseille, because the Marseille is the most bare of all of the decks. That's why I have this, and then I have the Crowley deck as a very diverse example. So the Fool is here in all his glory, and this got his little butt sticking out, and the little dog scratching at him, or a cat. I think it's a dog. It's a bad dog if it is a dog. So let's talk about symbols and what they mean, as far as let's talk about Jungian ideas of symbology. What is a symbol that we all associate with? So in this case, the word the Fool itself, by the time we've reached a certain age, we kind of understand the word the Fool, meaning a clown, a jokester, somebody who's a comedian, somebody who's not serious about life in many ways. In this period of time, a fool existed sometimes, many times, in the court of the king or queen, and they were there just as our comedians are now. Somebody like, say, Bill Maher is a good example of the Fool, or many of those kinds of comedians that are on late night television talking about political ideas or criticizing presidents and or prime ministers and whoever else, they speak for the common man. And they are usually very, very smart people who have ideas of their own. And that's what the fool was supposed to be. He was supposed to say to the king or queen, are you kidding? This is what people really believe and really think. And that was an important part of the court. So that right away is something we understand or know about. So talking about this guy, and I'll just keep him up here because it's fine. I don't mind holding him. So this is the Marseille, and we're talking about this jokester. In his pack on his back, we talk about it's maybe like that of a hobo, a pack that somebody who's not really part of society or somebody who travels a lot. You know, the idea of a hobo's pack on the trains in America at a certain time in our history was kind of a common thing. So also, this is a much more ancient idea. This person is not only just a pack on his back to travel wherever he likes, he also has his walking stick there. But this pack represents, if we're talking about the spiritual ideal of the tarot, his karmic bag. This guy is on his way to his next life or coming out of his just previous life. The dog is there to show us the incarnation into the flesh. Animals are more, they say, not less evolved, but more in the body than humans are. They're more in the moment. They're more in the earth. They're more in the current state that they're in than human beings are. Because we have a consciousness that makes us aware that there is such a thing as time and aware that there's such a thing as death and the end of things. And animals, they say, don't know this and live in the moment. So here's the dog pushing this guy on into the moment, be in the moment, he's saying to him. And we have the colors. Colors in the cards are very important. Now you'll look at this and then we're going to look at it right away. And we'll see that the colors are very similar. And they've been kept similar even in the Crowley deck, in the Thoth deck, it's Thoth, Thoth. That's the name of the deck. So they're similar. We have green, and we think of green as a color that symbolizes fertility and growth. Also, it's the color of the heart chakra, which is considered to be a lotus, a many-petaled lotus, which is green. You have the red in the hat and on the pants, of course, of representing blood and the life force. And anybody who studies magic, and if anybody's watching this who has studied magic and understands the correspondences of colors in magic, you know that those colors, green is for stuff like money and luck and security, earthly things. Love, also green associates itself, or Venus is associated with green. And red, of course, is passion, passion and fire. Use those colors for magical workings that have to do with love and sex and passion. So also gold, of course, we know what gold is. Gold represents money and security and financial gain. So you have those colors all through this, plus the white background, which is kind of great. It's easy to see, plus white represents purity. So here's this guy, either on his way to the other world, depending on how you look at your deck, like it's a 0. Some people consider the Fool to be the first card, and some people consider the Fool to be the last card. But really, the major arcana is a circle, and the Fool is both. He's both the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega. He's the unincarnated soul, either returning to the all or coming back from the all into material existence. That's that. That's what I think, and that's what people say. All right, so let's look at, if you can, click on your own. I'm going to look at mine down here, and I can put them, I'll put them up too. This is the Fool from the Rider-Waite deck. Can you see him? There he is. So if you look, it's a little more advanced drawing. It's much later on. It's drawn a different time period. Art was done differently at that time. This was done by a female artist. If you work with a deck, I do suggest you look up who drew them and why, and what was the collaboration between the people who drew and decided what they would look like, and even the publishers. There's really great books which I I almost broke the bank buying, but I did. They're called the Tarot Encyclopedia. They're huge books full of the history of the tarot and each individual card in so many decks. So if you're really a tarot nerd like I am and you want to know all that information, I suggest you try to get those in some way or study them in some way. You could probably get them out of a library if you wanted to try to do that too, because they're kind of special encyclopedias. All right, so the Fool card in the Rider-Waite. It's a little bit different, and we have a big yellow background, and people say a lot about this card being in the yellow. The yellow is about the mind. You know, Mercury's color is yellow. Mercury is the god of communication and thought, and yellow is his color. Yellow also represents, of course, the heat of the sun. And so that's all around him. There's a lot of more yellow in this. And if you look really close at his dress here, he's got flowers on it. So new flowers, budding flowers, as well as his little dog over here being a little bit, everything's backwards on here, so I'm confused. Here's a little dog. Ooh. And he's a little white dog. So people will say that, a lot of people say they chose to make this dog white, not brown like the other guy in the Marseille deck, because this dog is not incarnated. This is the sort of a spirit animal that's guiding this guy onto his journey, which is very possible. So we have also in his hand, we have a white lily, that represents the spirit itself, you know, an unincarnated spirit. The Fool himself is an unincarnated spirit, they say, or he's been incarnated and jumping out into the all. On his pack, there are symbols. If you look really close at the pack, can I put it here? Yeah, you can see symbols on the pack. It's much better if you look at the picture. So we'll look at the picture together. On the pack is like, they say it's a bird, an eagle. It could be representing, again, his karma, his spirit, whatever's in there. I'm going to put this down and just talk because it's too wiggly. We also see that he's jumping off, just like the other Fool was walking, and being goaded forward by his little dog. This guy is like going off a cliff. So, and he's not looking, he's just going off that cliff. Again, the flowers on his dress with the black background. The black background has stars. So this is something that symbolizes, you know, incarnation within the stars and within the spirit itself being how many lives he may have had. Somebody told me recently, oh, and I never thought of that myself. So I thought that's pretty interesting. These are his reincarnated lives on his dress. It's his skin maybe coming off as he passes on to the other world, or it's the skin that he's taking on. Underneath is also this, you know, being his karma. I have a cuckoo clock, so it's going to just go off. Ignore it. It's going to kook, and that's it. So underneath we have a white dress, sort of a slip underneath, and that represents, again, purity, the spirit itself, incarnating or disincarnating. On the top of his head, we have that red feather, and that red feather is, you know, when people do out-of-body work or they do astral projection, there's a cord that ties you to your body, supposedly, and it's the cord of life. And if you sever that cord, you are no longer in this body. You will no longer be on this plane. So this is a symbology for that, and this is also, you know, just in general saying this is the cord of life, the umbilical cord. Is he a fetus ready to be born? Maybe. That's the thing with these things. I'm going to go back to you guys. The thing is it? What is it? So I've said my piece. You go ahead and say your piece. In the meantime, I'm going to look online for the Thoth deck so we can look at this really cool Fool card. So what do you think, Lisa? What does all that stuff mean to you? Are you there? Here comes the, yay. So you can type in the comments if you want to. Jay just did that. Thank you, Jay. You can type right in the comments there. I'm going to write something in there too. See, very nice. And then it'll stay. People can read those. There, little thumbs come across too. It's kind of a cool thing, this. I like it. It's really interesting. So we can go on to this. Yeah, it is ancient symbology, Jay. It is ancient symbology. People say tarot cards may have been nothing more than cards. And a lot of people really believe that. And I tend to be one of those people that really believe that. There was a game called Taroki, and Taroki was played by a lot of different people. It was just really the major arcana and the secondary parts of things, the minor arcana that came in later on. So, but that also became the minor arcana, became what we know as our own playing deck today. So did people play with these cards? Yes, they did. Did people put symbology into them? Yes, they did. And as time went on, did it get more deep? Yes, it did. It became more of an esoteric art. And I'm not going to go into all of that kind of stuff here on the internet, because that's really an in-depth studying really down the road of all of the symbolism. In the Rider-Waite deck, by the time we get to the Rider-Waite deck, which was the beginning of the 20th century, we start to see stuff that comes from Freud, Jung. We start to see some stuff that comes from the occult movements of the late 19th century. We start to see magical symbolism from the OTO and all these different things, which can be explained at other times. But if you're interested in that stuff, and if you want to know more about it, I do one-on-one lessons in all of these different art forms that have to do with the occult, from tarot to astrology to spellcraft to witchcraft and more. And within that study, you can really discover a lot. Once you start to know the symbology of the tarot, though, you sort of become a magician even by accident, because there's so many little hidden meanings and so much magical symbolism inside of them that it's almost impossible not to grasp a lot of those ideas. Also the Masons, I don't want to forget them, and the Rosicrucians and people like this, who were hiding secret ideas supposedly from Egyptian magic BC, very long ago. So let's take a look at the Thoughtful card. If you can, open him up. Very interesting. Like, it's in very many ways, it's very similar, except we have a lion instead of a dog. And there's also a lot of interesting stuff going on in this card. You see it's Art Deco immediately from the frame, and it's an Art Deco frame. So 0 again. Is it the first card? Is it the last card? Is it just no card? It's just like the Fool in our current deck. You know, the Joker in our current deck. It's sort of a placeholder, many people believe, but they always put him in. I think that's pretty interesting that he still remains even in our current, you know, Western playing deck. Okay, so let's look at this card. So many things to see. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll start at the top. I'm starting at would be my top right, where his hand is holding a crystal. And there's a dove below that. So that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to go across. So I'll tell you where I am, because we're a mirror of each other right now because of the internet. So his right hand is holding a crystal. It looks like a crystal. And there are flames coming out of his left hand. So it's almost like he has this power, almost like the Magician card, which is going to come up next, and how the magician is able to manifest whatever he wants. So this guy is either he's incarnated or he's not. Most likely he's in somewhere in between. He's in a womb, it seems to me, or in some kind of an enclosure. Also, his eyes are staring straight ahead at us, which is very different than the other fools. Now I've seen that before. He's got a crystal on top of his head and 2 horns here, meaning probably he's the Green Man. We're talking about magic symbolism here. Very heavy in Crowley's hands. Very heavy. Crowley was a magician and studied demonology as well as esoteric magic from Italy, Egypt, and other places throughout his life. So he would have all of this in here. Makes total sense that he has so much in his one card, and there's more as it goes on. So he's Green Man. The Green Man himself, the symbolism of the Green Man, if we're talking about what is that? What's a Green Man? This is a seed that lies in the ground being the mother, the earth herself, and grows from her, just like a child would. This is very much like the Egyptian myth of Isis and Osiris, and how she gives birth to a second Osiris when he comes through her again after she is fertilized by his father, even though his father's passed away. Just the seed is remaining, and now a new one comes. And that's what this means. This is the beginning of that. This is a seed germinating within the ground. That's why you have things like those grapes on the left-hand side there. Also, grapes represent the god Dionysus. He was the god of wine, the god of grapes, the god of fertility, and he was a green man, and also a dying and resurrected god. So in Greek mythology. Below that are the astrology symbols, all of them. They're all in there. I think all 12 are there. Yep, looks like all of those are astrology symbols based on what? Decision. When am I going to be born? It's behind a veil. I don't know what I am. I don't know what this is. I don't know what my incarnation is going to mean when I step upon the earth herself. Then we have down below there a lion. I think it's a lion, some kind of a beast, biting at his leg, just like the dogs were, and it's attached to him, almost like a sort of a tick. It's not going anywhere. That thing is on him, and it's part of him. And that's saying too, talking before about how the dogs represent the body or the incarnation of the spirit into being. So this also represents that, the body, the incarnation. I like he has his little pointy feet and his little pointy shoes. Very interesting. It harks back to Peter Pan. It harks back to the Green Man, and that symbol of what that is. In the middle, we have also a crocodile coming around. So you have an earth animal, which is the lion. You have a crocodile, which is sort of a water animal, a lizard. Or are we talking about people developing from lizards or from reptiles, excuse me, and building their way up the evolutionary scale to becoming a human being? Knowing that, I know a little bit about Crowley. That's probably what he was up to, putting this stuff in. We also have these really cool sort of fetuses, twins in the middle. So he's saying to me or to us, this is a choice. Am I a female? Am I a male? Am I one? Am I two? Am I going to find my other half? Am I my other half? In between, coming out of his legs, we have those same symbols, those white, beautiful white flowers, white lilies, representing purity. So this is coming out of him and splitting in two. It's also the top of the tree of life in the Kabbalah. Let's talk about the Kabbalah for about 3 seconds. No, maybe 5 seconds. A lot of the tarot has been associated with the Kabbalah and the tree of life. Many people believe that a lot of the symbolism in the tarot has to do with the Kabbalah and ancient Hebrew magic, which has come from ancient Egyptian magic. So that's something to explore if you're interested in that. But that configuration of flowers, including the 3 on the side, this has to do with the Kabbalic tree of life, Kether being the top. We have over his genital area, his center of sun. So we're saying this is where the spirit is entering, or has entered, or is and lives. Then we go over and we have butterflies, birds, doves, a sort of Egyptian two-headed snake. We have the symbolism of the Mercury staff on the top of that and wrapped around his neck. So there's this full card. This is quite different than the other full cards. He's got halos as well that come out in rainbow colors from the darkest being the red, which is the bottom, to the lightest being white or a violet color. So this is a quite different tarot card. And I think speaks to us more now because it's much more modern. I just picked this one up because it's very unusual and very, very, very thick, full of many things. And just to give you guys an example of stuff that's out there, there are so many tarot card decks. Let's add this in here now. There's a difference between tarot, and fortune-telling cards. There's a lot of fortune-telling cards out there, as we know, and that's great, but they're not tarot cards. So if you do buy a deck, you want to make sure that it's tarot cards, if that's what you're interested in. And tarot cards are different in that they have this major arcana, which includes 21 cards. We're just starting at the first one here. There's 21 cards in the major arcana, and then 4 suits: cups, wands, pentacles, whatever I forget, and swords as well. And those are very much like our spades and diamonds, etc., from our current playing deck. If it doesn't have 72 cards and 21 of them are not these kinds of symbolism, then you don't have a tarot deck. You have a fortune-telling deck. And there are many of them online you can pick up or in stores, and they're quite beautiful. And yes, they work very well. This is more of a study of symbology, symbolism, magic, the Kabbalah, ancient thought. That's where the tarot comes from. It's not so much just angel cards, which are great in of themselves. Also, there's another type of a card called a Lenormand, and I love those. Those have some of our current playing cards involved with other, maybe very current symbolism. And if you're interested in a simple way in, I would suggest those first. And there are ways to read them that are very easy. These are a little more complicated. But let's talk about the next step of this. Once you've sat with these guys and you understand what you think, not what I'm saying, or what books may say, or what lots and lots of websites say, or YouTube videos say, we're not talking about what I think is in these cards. I'm talking about what I think the symbology is, which is kind of common knowledge we can find. And I'm sure that if you explore, and I'd love it if you do, write me here on this video and tell me more, because the more I learn, the happier I am, because I am a huge tarot nerd, right? So the more the better. Find other symbolism in that card that I don't see. Please tell me. I'd love to know more about it. Please. By no means do I know everything that is in anything in these cards. Why do I say that? We don't, any of us, know everything that's in these cards, because in a reading, or if this was a reading, if I just picked up this one card and this was the card, this would be the entire reading. I could do no more than look at this card. And yes, I can know what the symbolism is, and that does help me read the card, but it's also about, what do I know? What do I know? How do I see this? When a person is sitting in front of you, or if you're reading for yourself, you're looking at this card and you have to say, how does that apply? How does that apply to this person I'm helping here? I'm helping to heal, I'm helping to guide them. Or how does it work for me? Why is this card in my hand? Sometimes you can't figure it out. Sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes it's quite simple. The cards almost speak to you once you look at them. And that's the thing we want to do. You want to be able to look at a card and say, okay, that's great, Mary, thanks for all that stuff. Now I'm bored. It's too much information, but I see it's green and I see it's yellow, and those colors mean such and such to me. If a card is in your hand, it's in your hand, and it's for your mind to interpret it, not a book. When I first learned tarot, I was 13 or something like that. I think 13. I had learned palmistry, and I had learned a form of tarot reading from my grandmother, whose mother was a strega, which meant she was an Italian witch, and she read palms and tea leaves. And so unbeknownst to my mother, who didn't approve of these things, my grandmother taught me how to read with our current playing deck when I was a little girl, very little girl. And I knew from then how to do it pretty much. So I was lucky. I had an intro at a very, very, really 5 years old, 6 years old. By 13, I had my first deck of Rider-Waite, this guy, this. And I began to study. And for many years, I was terrified, because I was also just a teenager, but I was terrified to read cards without the book. I had a book by Eden Gray, which came along with the deck that I bought, and that helped me to read the cards. And sometimes still, I will keep a book by my side, because sometimes I'm like, well, let me really look back at the symbolism. I'm confused by this. Maybe within the symbolism, maybe within somebody else's mind frame, I can unravel this card, because sometimes it's like a big knot or a clog in a pipe and it doesn't come through and you need a little help. But I don't believe you should rely on having a book and that's how you read cards, because that doesn't leave room for your interpretation. Yeah, the symbolism is there, and if you looked at this video, you can like study the symbolism in the Fool card so far and the others we get to today, but that's not your decision. You're not interpreting. So that's my lecture on that. Everybody's still here? You guys are still here? I don't even know. That doesn't matter. I will go on. So that's the Fool card. Any questions? Anybody? Nothing? I hope I'm not boring you. All right, so I'm going on. I wanted to, at the end of this, if people remain, I have a 3-card spread just from the major arcana. I would shuffle one up and we see what we get. So if you want that, you have to let me know you want that. All right, so we're going on. We're going to go on to the Magician. So let me get him up for you. Okay, so here's the first one. Come on. Yay, there he is. Okay, so this is the older deck we talked about before, the Marseille I have right here, and here he is, and I can see him now with you guys. So you can click on that if you want to see it. You can keep it. So here he is, the Magician. So what's the Magician? All right, he's the number 1, and if you know, of course, there's more than just symbolism in the cards. There's numerology and there's astrology in the cards. So let's go into it carefully. So the Magician is number 1 out of 21. Fool being 0, he's 1. 1 alone, 1 person. The number 1 is, you know, a single thing. It has no pair. There's nothing else. There's just 1. We know if we do math that there's bazillions of things within 1, negatives, positives. We're not going there. 1 is 1. But within 1, there is infinity. There is infinity. If you know math, that tells you that. That is true. And that's this symbology as well. So there's 1. And that's contained. So the spirit itself in the Fool has incarnated into the body. There he is. He's a magician. The cards are telling us we're all magicians, which means we can make anything happen we want if we know how to do it. He has an altar or a desk. On it is symbolism of the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. It's not as clear here as it will be in the Rider-Waite deck, so we'll talk about that when we see it more. It's a little bit convoluted here because of the type of drawing, but you do have a knife which represents air, you do have a candle which represents fire, etc., etc. In his hand he has a wand, a balanced wand. In the Rider-Waite deck, you're going to see this wand appear again and again and again. It's the Fool's staff, and the Fool's staff now has shrunk to become a wand. It is a wand. It's a 2-sided wand, which means he has control, beginning, end, on, off, that black, white, in, out. He has control of 2 sides of things. I remember when my son was learning to talk, it was very important for many weeks for him to know the difference between on and off, back and forth. He kept asking me over and over, and it confused him for a while because he was new at this whole thing, just like the Magician. So, but on and off, in and out, black and white, hot and cold, opposites, polarity. We live in a 3-dimensional world, but things are full of polarity. That's part of being in the material space that we're in on the earth at this time. Here, it's polarity. Opposites, yin and yang, male and female. Okay, so he's also got the same colors as the Fool. Since we've already gone into those colors, we can see them again here. We have green, yellow, red. Same symbolism as before. And if there's more that you know of, please pass it on. I'm just going by my common magical knowledge of colors associated with certain kinds of things. Of course, orange or red is the bottom root chakra in Kundalini yoga, in Kundalini thought. It's the bottom root, the bottom of the spine. And then you have yellow, which is in the stomach area, which rules the emotions, the emotional life of us beings on this planet. And then you have the green, which is the heart chakra. So that's what's here. He's in this area. So he's not here. He's not up here in the mind yet. He's got his head covered, which means he's sort of in this only. He's in the body. But even though he is, he knows how to make things work for himself. So that's him. So let's go to, I'm going to find for you. Weep. I have to go back out. The Magician. We're going to find the Magician in Rider-Waite. Here he is. It's a little bit different. It's quite different, actually. So let's take a look about it. You can see. There he is, coming up for you. There he is. So once again, we have this lovely yellow background. And he has a double wand in his hand, in his right hand. Now, I'm not going to ever say left-handed people are anything sinister. So that's a very weird, old-fashioned thought that some people still have, which is ridiculous. But in this case, he's holding that wand aloft in his right hand. And his right hand is the hand of creativity, forcefulness, power, external movement, moving things out, pushing things forward, the male energy, not men, masculine energy. Right hand is pointed to the ground, and the left left hand is pointed to the ground. And this is a very typical, common, magical stance for magicians to take. It's the above and below. So as above, so is below. So as he desires, he is bringing it down into the material plane. In front of him on the altar/desk, whatever you want to think of it as, he has the 4 symbols that are common in Western magic. You have a cup representing water. You have a sword representing air. You have a wand or staff representing fire. And you have a pentacle with a star on the plate there representing earth. The pentacle represents earth because it's on a gold plate. The cup fills with water. You have the sword, which is forged with fire, yet is a creation of the mind. And you also have the staff of wood. Why a staff of wood? How is that fire? Well, it contains the fire of life. The tree has its own fire of life within it, and there's other symbolism that goes with that, which is for another class on another day. But those are the 4 Western magical symbols. So if you want to look those up and get to know them better, so go ahead and do that. It's very easy to find those and to really study those and to understand those. Over his head, we have the sign of infinity, or figure 8, on its side, and that means that he is infinite. He is God incarnate. That's what this card is telling us. He is God incarnate. He's wearing his white robe still, the same white robe he had on as the Fool. And that purity remains. And around his shoulders and arms is red of the body, the incarnation of spirit into form. Above his head, you have red roses, which also represent love, of course, and power and passion. And you have the white, beautiful white flowers there on the bottom again, representing purity, the white lily. It's very commonly used in Christianity at Easter time, the lily, representing incarnation, reincarnation, rising from the dead, new beginnings, spring. Okay, so all of those symbols that go into that. And again, he is the number 1. So this card of the 2 is a lot easier to understand if you're working with magic. So you can see the magical system right at work here, which was kind of, as I said before, coming in from the previous century, from the occult movement, from the OTO, and from different kinds of organizations that were really working with these symbols a lot. And if you look into and maybe we'll talk about it one day if anybody wants to, we can talk about the Rider-Waite deck and how it was created, but you can certainly look that up online and see it yourself and read to your heart's content. So there's that. So that's him. And that learntarot.com, that comes up there, that's a decent site. You know, you get a kind of a blurb on each one of those cards, which again, I hope you take your time. And one way you can work and learn the major arcana in particular. The other cards, I think, are a little, sometimes some people feel they're much more complicated, the minor arcana. Some people feel the major are more complicated. I think the minor arcana are a heck of a lot more complicated than the major. The major is pretty clear symbolism for you to check out, really, and understand. And what you might want to do is take a card and live with that card. Like this webcast we're doing today is happening, but then I won't do another one for a month. So maybe take these 3 or whatever cards we get through, maybe more, who knows? It's a 7:45 now, so we've been in almost 45 minutes. And if this goes till 9, if people are still here, or if they don't want a reading, I'll shut down, and that's fine too. But sit with the card or the cards we've done. And then you can explore them at your own pace. Put them out. Or if you don't want to dirty up your cards or whatever, print out or draw out or something, a picture of this card. You can put it on your phone as a backdrop. And that's what I do when I study something like that. It's on my phone, it's my backdrop, it's on my wallpaper, and I see it every time I use the phone, which of course we know everyone is always doing. So, or you can put it in the back of your PC in your wallpaper and just really look at that thing and really let the symbolism soak into you. And in the process, then look it up and then ask other people what they see. And then go ahead and read with that card. You say, here's your card. This is what I see for you. Here's the Fool card. Here's what I see for you. Here's the Magician card. Here's what I see for me. Here's what I see for you. That's a way to start. Use 2 cards, use 3 cards. Very simple. And believe me, it's fine. You don't need to use all 72 cards to do a reading. I prefer many times, and most days, I'll do a 1-card reading for myself. Just one. What's the card of the day? And go forward from there. Okay, so that's a great way to do it. So that's the Magician. We're going to look at Crowley really quick. We'll look at the Thoth deck, because why not? Because how can you not? I love it. We're going to go into the Magician. It's really beautiful. I mean, it really is. So why not? The art in this deck is beautiful. Now, there's more than one of these in the deck. There's a bunch of different maguses. Magus meaning magician. So I'm going to look at him with you. There he is. Very interesting. You know, he looks like Mercury, yeah? And his symbol here on the bottom where it says the Magus is actually symbol of Mercury. And the Hebrew letter, not sure what it means. I'm going to look for you. Let's go look. Hebrew letter. I want to know. See, this is what I do, and this is what I suggest you do. And because Google is like a thing, thank God we have. So if anybody else knows what it is, let me know, or put it in the comments and say. So I'm looking at this lovely website, and it tells you the variations are here. There's three variations in the Thoth deck. And if you have a full deck, you'll get all of them, which is great. It's good to know. This little website I'm looking at looks at all these different ideas of the Kabbalah, which Crowley really did base his deck on the Kabbalic work, because that's really was the basis of a lot of his work. Okay, so it's the Hebrew word letter Beth, which means house. I'm implying construction or making of things. It's a window. It has a window or aperture on this left. So it's called Beth. That's the name of the letter, and it means construction or making of things. Well, we're looking at the Magus card, so that is a perfect letter for it. I love it. Okay. I never knew that before, so I'm learning along with you guys, and I'm hoping that as we go on with this, that people teach me too, because I don't know everything. I certainly don't. I would like to know everything, but I won't get it done in this lifetime. Anyway, so again, it's a 1, number 1. He's alone, yet he's not. In this card, he is and he isn't. He's got things flying around him. It's very, I guess it looks like kind of Harry Potter-ish. And I bet you that was used in their ideas in the films, because a lot of the ideas in the film come from real magic, actually. So if you're interested in Harry Potter, you're interested in real magic. A lot of it is true. A lot of it is real. Nothing shoots out of wands, although I wish it did. But a lot of it is real. So we do have above him, we have this wonderful Egyptian symbolism of incarnation, the bird. We have also, again, Mercury's staff with snakes, two-headed snake wrapped around it, which means infinity, which also means reincarnation, which means life never ends. We go on and on and on. He's got on his right hand, his wand at this time is very interesting because it's Egyptian. And he's got the head of Anubis, which is the god of death, on the top. And it's open on the bottom. So it's a two-headed wand, death and life. He's showing us the difference. He has his symbols flying around. So he has his wand, he has his fire, he has his pentacle with zillions of stars around it. He has his water bowl, he has his sword, and he has a money in the bag. He has coins. Again, at his feet, like Mercury, and that's why he's using Mercury as a symbol here. Mercury being the magician in his mind, Crown's mind. He has his Mercury wings on the bottom, and he has a lion on the top. There's that lion that was just there on the leg of the fool, and now he's like, yeah, go. And there he flies. Cool card. Love that card. So, you know, you get a choice when you learn to read. Let me have a little drink. You get to decide what you want to work with, which deck you want to work with. The world now is such an open thing. When I was a 13-year-old girl, which was like 3,000 years ago, it was not much of a choice. You know, I had the Rider-Waite deck, and I found this in a game store in a mall, and that was the extent of my finding stuff. There was no internet when I was a kid. No. That's how long ago it was. It was the Stone Age. No. There was books, and if there were books like this, they were hidden, and they weren't easy to find at all. And if you did find them, it was a problem. My mother burnt my first tarot deck in the barbecue because she thought that the Exorcist was going to happen. That what happened in the Exorcist was going to happen to me because these cards were going to make the devil come into my body. So anyway, that's my story. I'm sure yours is just as interesting. But now, yes, Lisa, check out that deck. I think you'd like it a lot. It's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And you don't have to buy it to check it out. You can look at it online. I'm just popping in the name, and I'm just examining the cards. They are different, and they really are more current. There are, of course, many more current decks. If you want to look for the most current decks, go ahead and do it, because it'll be symbolism of today. One of the assignments I had with one of my groups that I belong to was to make a current tarot deck. Now, we didn't make it on cardboard, but we did make them. We couldn't all draw, so it was kind of messy. But we used like who is now the magician? You know, at this time, what symbolism is now, right now in 2017? What is it? What represents the magician at this moment? And we really, you know, put our heads to that. And you could do that, and that may be a very good way to go ahead and do it. Yeah, it's confusing, Lisa, because it's like it's so thick. But if you just look up the symbols, so you can Google them. So if you say, hey, I'm going to look up Mercury, and like I just looked up the Hebrew letter because I didn't know the Hebrew letter was Beth. So then you can read about that, and you could probably keep it all together. Yeah, that's a great study. So you could just start that way, or like I said just now, look up what's the most current deck in the world and look at what they have, because you'll find it, and or make your own. Like put your mind to it. And so as you learn the Fool, say, what would I put into it now and make it current today? All right, so it's 10 to 8. Go on a little bit. We're going to go into, now we have so far the magician. Like we're not sure if it's male or female. We don't know. So it's just because it's just sort of anything. This Crowley card may look more male. It has no breasts and it is naked. So I don't see any penis, but that doesn't mean, you know, but it also could be androgynous. It could be both. And that's probably what he was going for. And that's what the other decks usually go for. We don't know if it's male. We don't know if it's female. We just know it is spirit incarnate. That's what we know in the body. So now we're going to go to a place where it's definitely feminine. We're going to go to the Empress. So I'm just going to put him up. Her, excuse me. Rider-Waite. There she is. Now, we're not going into any kind of reversing of cards today, but I will do that, I think, as we go on, like in the months. By the time, I could be like very old. There's a lot to talk about. You know, there's so many pieces. All right, so here we go. This is the Empress card from the Rider-Waite deck. Oh, did I skip the Marseille? We did. Let's go back. Forget about her. Let's go back to the other. I need to cut her out. So we'll go back in there. She's pretty. It's very interesting. Very different than the card becomes as it goes on. So let's look at her first because this is kind of cool. Yes. All things. That's right. So let me put up, I'm going to go back to the Marseille real quick. I know you guys have seen it before, but I'm also doing this for anybody else who comes in. There's a couple of people who couldn't be here because they're working or not available tonight, so they're going to look at it later. So we want to help them to understand too. So this is a pretty clear, interesting card. If you're talking about medieval, well, this is the type of art that was going on at that time. All right. So if you look at paintings from that time, which we all have seen at some point in a church or in a museum, then you can see this very clear type of drawing, painting, almost childish in its way. All right. So she's crowned. She has got different colors on now. We have blue. This is a higher place in the chakra system. It's in the throat. And she also has red in the center. And if she is pregnant, which we get to know later on in the other decks that we see a belly, more of a belly, but we say she's pregnant because of the way it's drawn with those lines. So she's pregnant. Her breasts and her belly are full of the force of life. Now we have the green coming out of her sleeves and behind her. Fertility. She's in her throne. She's got an eagle. This eagle on the sword, on a shield, excuse me, protecting her. Also blue being a color that represents the mind and thought. And birds represent the mind and thought. The sky, where things happen in the imagination. So that's a very magical symbol as well. And then we have her little ball with the cross on top of it, of course, a common thing that a queen or an empress might have, but also representing the little baby that's inside of her because we have the round top of the scepter. That's what I've been told. You know something else? Please tell me. I'm going back up a little bit where I was before the comments, and we're looking at the Rider-Waite Empress. Oh, you know what I did? Oh, that was dumb. But that's okay. You know, we skipped. We're on 3. I skipped 2. Oh no! And I did that because of Crowley. I have the Crowley deck turned, but that's okay. We're on 3. We'll just finish 3. The number 2 card is also feminine, so we're still in the feminine realm. So this is number 3. 1 plus 1 equals 3. So she is with child. She is with possibility. And she is with connection to another one. So she is also the Fool, come through another place, which we'll go back and talk about. Maybe this is how we're supposed to do it. I always say the cards speak, and I have nothing to do with what they do. Even if it's a mistake, I'll blame it on them. It's their fault. So she here in the Rider-Waite deck, you can see, is wearing a white gown, and she has a crown full of stars. That those stars equal 12, if I'm correct. That's 12. And that represents the 12 months. It represents the zodiac. She's the queen of heaven. A lot of goddesses recall that. Isis being one, Ishtar and Inanna also being called the queen of heaven. She sits on a red symbolism of fertility and passion couch. She has her wand. Now the Fool's wand is transformed. It gets transformed in every one of these cards until it sort of really morphs into something else entirely. In this case, she has a little ball on the top. Hers is like pregnant. It's round, just like the Marseille deck was like that too. We have behind her these lovely trees growing, cypress trees. Warm, it's beautiful. It's nice. It's a fertile time of year. You see that there's wheat growing around her feet. She has pomegranates on her dress that are red. Those again represent the womb and all the seeds within that womb, and it's eternal. There are so many seeds in a pomegranate, and she's got tons of them on her dress. And also on her right side, the same side that is still holding up the wand, is the symbolism of Venus. Symbolism of Venus. Yeah. Thanks, Jay. Yay, little hearts. It's so cute when that happens. I love that. All right, so let's go on to Crowley, and then we'll backtrack to the Empress. And I'm sorry about that, but hey, we're going to be fine. I mean, the High Priestess. Oh, I've lost my mind. Okay. So, Thoth Tarot. That's T-O-T-H. That's Lisa, when you were talking about being pregnant with possibilities. So when that card comes up in a reading, that's really where you're headed. You know, somebody's pregnant with something in a creative state. That's what a lot of interpretive books will tell you. That's what it means. And that's true. She is pregnant with possibilities. Okay, so let's go get the tarot, the Empress card. See a good one here. That's a nice one. I want them to be clear for you to see. So here's Crowley's deck. And I only picked it really, not because I don't love Crowley's deck. It's just that it's really so full of stuff to look at. It's really quite beautiful. So again, we have this green, beautiful green. It's lovely. It's a very different card than the others. If you look again, she has a swan. She has that same sword. She has that same shield over there on the right hand side. This time it's got two birds. This is almost like a coat of arms, but it's a male and a female swan with another one next to it. So swans, the bird, the swan. What does that represent? What does the swan represent? Do we know? Well, it's certainly purity, and certainly fertility, and certainly intelligence. But if there's something else I don't know, just tell me. I would love to know. Again, we have a beautiful flower right in the middle of her chest. This is a lotus. This is representing that chakra. She's ripe with love and open and connected to her heart center. She's also a sort of a full moon. She's the full moon, and on either side of us, on side of her, you have the waxing and the waning moon. Whatever's happening in the moon on the right is what's happening in the moon. So if on the right is more dark, then the moon is going dark. If it's more light, then the moon is going light. So whatever. So on her left side, we have the moon going light, and on her right side, we have the moon going dark. And she's in the center, which represents the center, which is a full moon. She is the full moon. She's wearing a red top and a green bottom, and she is full of symbolism of the astrology all over her dress. Beautiful. All the zodiac is there. Instead of on her crown, this one has it on her dress. And also, again, instead of on the top of her scepter, she has on the top of her head this round thing that represents the goddess, that represents fertility and the womb and the earth itself. And actually the cross on the top represents the four elements, or the four seasons, or the four parts of magic: earth, air, fire, and water. Okay. It's 8 o'clock. So I'm going to do one more because I have to back up and go to the right person, which is the High Priestess. Okay, we'll go to the High Priestess. No big deal. And we'll talk through her real quick. So let me find you High Priestess from Marseille. She's a very interesting lady, this. It's a very... She looks like a nun, I would suppose, of the time. So here's that. Here she comes. La Papis, which means the Popus, right? So she's sort of a priest. She's sort of a pope. She's sort of a nun. She's wearing what ancient popes used to wear on her head. Jay, you might recognize that from something we watched not long ago. The young priest, he wore this on his head. And this was put on their head so that they would be able to commune with God better. I guess they imagined that if they put a metal cone on their head, they would be closer to picking up, receiving God's message. So she's got that on her head, and she's wearing sort of a wimple, which was what a nun might wear, to cover her hair and to be modest. She's reading a book, could be the Bible, could be in the other stuff we're going to see. She's reading the Tarot. She's reading, not Tarot, the Torah. She's reading a Hebrew book. In this case, she's reading we don't know what. She's wearing blue. Again, we're in the blue phase, which we've risen up from just red and stuff. And we've risen up to red, gold, greens. Now we're in the blue, which is the throat chakra. And she is wearing gold around her body and a white wimple, and red again. She's fertile. She's alive. She's a being with blood that's pulsing through. So this is a card of it's kind of an austere card, but if you look at the card and you look at the next ones, you'll kind of see that they are a bit alike. It's austere, and it's very much about study, and it's very much about balance, and it's very much about not a lot of frill and excitement. You see, if you look up in the other cards, you look up in especially in the Rider-Waite deck of the next card, number 3, which is the Empress, and go back to this one, which is number 2, which is the High Priestess. You can see the difference, I guess, in all of them. Even in the Marseille deck, you can see the total difference in the way that it's drawn. So let's put up the Rider-Waite deck, because that's a little more fancy. There she is. Have a free reading. Yes, I know. There's all kinds of stuff all over the internet. They say it's free, but not all the time. Nah. But on that line, I just think, I don't understand why you'd want a reading online. I don't understand how you could do it all the way through. I don't understand, and it's a stranger. If I read a card here for you, I know you, or I can find out, and you can get to know me, and we get to know each other a little bit. But if it's like a computer reading, can it be true? Well, maybe it is. People say that a reading is true, no matter what it is. Whoever throws the card, that's the card that's meant to come to you, because it's not the person that throws the card, but it is the card itself that comes to you. So perhaps if it's a free reading online, it really could be true. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I like the human touch more. I kind of just do. All right, so here's the High Priestess. And then we're back with the pomegranates. You remember in the Empress, she was wearing the pomegranates. In this case, she's not wearing them, but they're all around her. So we're going to look at them. They're behind her and enveloping her. So here is the High Priestess. Here she is. One of my favorite cards. I love this card. I think I love this card because for many reasons. I really do understand and revere Isis. And this card does represent Isis, and it does represent the Virgin Mary and many other virginal goddesses that have come through history. And in each pantheon, the Greeks, the Celtics, the ancient Mesopotamians, you will find a virginal goddess of sorts, and this is her. in a lot of ways. Yeah, me too, right? It's like the ultimate feminine power card. I love it. I do. It's just beautiful. It's the possibility and it's the centeredness, I think, that feminine power brings to the world. And if we're talking about the Kabbalah, the first part of the top of the tree of life, and if you really are interested in the Kabbalah, you should read about it and take it easy because it can be very thick. But the top of the tree of life is called Keter, and so this is the all. And the first incarnation is through her. So she's the 2, right? She's number 2. First we have the magician 1, and then she comes. And after she comes, we have the rest of the tree, and she brings life. So just like in the Old Testament, you have Adam, and then Eve, and then everybody came in. Although people have problems with that story, we're not going to get into that today. So anyway, we're looking at her. She's between 2 pillars, the beginning and the end. She's the center. And we talk about this card and the way they drew this card as representing a vulva, and it does. So if you want to look that up, and go ahead and look it up, because that's what it represents. And she is the opening of the vagina, and she is the way in. And the way in and the way out, that's it. Fertility comes through that space, and we all come through that space. So that's what she represents. That is what she represents. She has a very equal cross on her chest. It's not a Christian cross, although it could be. She's talking again about equality of the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water, the 4 seasons. So that's what that's there for. And you see on her lap the Torah. She's reading the Torah. Something to look up. And why? Well, these guys these 2 who created this deck, the person who drew it and the man who wanted her to draw it, were very much into ancient Hebrew magic and the Kabbalah. So you're going to find these symbols all through their deck. And Crowley's is even more. Behind her are pomegranates, again, fertility and seeds, and little open vulva. And if you look at them, I'm looking at it on the screen, it looks like a baby's head coming out. So if you had a baby or you see a baby born, that's what it looks like, the top of the head poking through. So it's the beginning of things. But it's also about balance. And it's also about being balanced. And it's also about the virginal goddesses or virgins in mythology weren't necessarily physical virgins. That was the least of the thing that people were talking about. They were talking about a woman who was unto herself, not married, not combined with another. Although she could be, she isn't. Or this is like a high priestess of the temple that you go to, that was the keeper of the flame, the keeper of the magic, the keeper of fertility, the keeper of all things. Could she be a witch? Yes. Is she a priestess? Yes. Is she a priestess of a religion? Surely. She is the feminine divine. So she is. And that's why women like her so much. A lot of women get this in their readings. I find when I do read cards, she comes up quite often for women, because women are sort of looking for this a lot in life. They're looking for their own inner power, which may have been and has been, in my opinion, in our society kind of scratched away for a long time. And people are starting to reclaim that by understanding the cards. And that's, if Lisa, if this is a card that speaks to you, then you may want to put her up and keep her around and really get to know her. Because if she speaks to you, then she speaks to you for some reason, and you get to know her better. All right, so I'm going to look at the Crowley deck of the Empress, and then we'll be done looking at some cards for today. And we'll do a little reading. High Priestess. I keep saying Empress. I'm sorry. This card is really interesting, I think. Very interesting. Here comes the Thoth deck, High Priestess. Whoa, right? Wow. Yeah. So I'm going to look up at her. I'm like, wow, look at her. I mean, it is a lot of the same symbolism. We've got a camel. I think it's a camel. We have crystals. We have flowers. We have magical triangles. It's more like it's almost like this. She's a goddess in her temple and looks like Isis because she's wearing Isis's headdress up there in her temple. And these are looks like this is the stuff that people have given her. You know, it's an offering on the bottom. And on the sides, we have the moon on one side. And then we have a Hebrew letter, which I'm going to look up again because I don't know what it means. Yay! Hebrew letter. on High Priestess. You get there before me. Let me know anybody gets it before me. Jay, do you know this? There's a whole bunch of them. That's easy to look up. So she's got this beautiful letter. Looks like a music note to me, but then that's because I'm not a musician. So, Nun. Well, I have to learn my Hebrew letters. Obviously, I'm a failure at Hebrew letters. Anyway, I'm not sure what it means, but I'm sure. Well, thanks, Jay. I think it means Gimel. What does Gimel mean, Jay? It's Gimel. A benefactor, someone who gives to others. There you go. Someone who gives to others. Well, obviously, she does that. She gives us life. So there's that answer. And that's probably why he put it there. Also, the symbolism of the moon. And the moon is considered to be a feminine symbol because she changes so often through the cycle of the month. And it has nothing to do with women being irresponsible or rational or crazy. That's nonsense. It has to do with the fact that women ovulate, have menses, and then don't. Or that we have different times in life where we are ovulating and we're not. And the moon changes in the same way that women do throughout every single month of their lives. That's what it means, not that we're crazy. I've heard that too many times and it makes me crazy myself. So anyway, here she is. We're in her temple. So this is it, the High Priestess, the priestess. Here she is. She's become more than a priestess. She's become a goddess in the tarot deck that Crowley created. Beautiful things. All right. That's enough for me talking. I've talked and talked away. So we got through the Fool. We got through the Magician, which is number 1. We got through the High Priestess, which is number 2. Right? We got through the Empress, which is number 3. So we got through 4 cards. That's pretty good. There's 21 of them. So next month, hopefully, I'll get through more, but I don't want to get through more. I think it's better if we just go slow and easy and nice. And Lisa, like I said, Lisa was a student of mine. I'm talking to her directly here. And Jay has also studied tarot with me, and there tells us we've been at this for about an hour since the last cuckoo clock went off. Anyway, so, and it's of course the wrong time. It's a quarter after. So if you have questions and you haven't studied with me and you want to get together with me in some way, even if it's just quick questions, I don't charge people for questions. If I do, I will charge you for intense study though. If you want to spend an hour with me and we go over cards and comb through them and do readings and get people to come in for you to read, if you're in the New York City area and you want to do that, I do that. I can meet you in Manhattan, or I work out in Brooklyn. Whatever works out, and I can't do it all the time, but I will do it with you, and it would be great fun. Take me to Starbucks, talk for 2 hours. I'm fine. I'll never stop talking about tarot once I start. So there's an expression, knowing someone since the beginning. Okay, so since the beginning, that makes sense. Gimel, Jay saying since the beginning of time. So she is the beginning. That's right. She's the beginning of things. She's the mother symbol. So let's talk about, if anybody's here that wants a 3-card reading, what I will do is I will shuffle my Rider-Waite deck, only because that's a clearer symbol thing. I just said I don't believe in online readings, and here I go doing one. So that's fun. I don't mean to be just talking out of 2 sides of my head, but I can do it, or I can just do one. I'm going to do one. If you don't volunteer, raise your hands if you want a reading, like now. No, raise a hand. No? Nobody wants a reading? Well, then I'm going to do a general reading about the world. Let's do that because we're using cards that are huge and important. We're using the major arcana. Oh, wait, Jay raised his hand. Oh, both of you. Okay, hold on. All right, Lisa goes first because she's on top. She came up first on the thing here, so she goes first. Do you have a question, Lisa, or do you want to ask a question? Thanks, Jay. I'll wait for you, Lisa. Go ahead. I got you. You have a specific question? If not, I don't have to do, you know, as you know, I've read both for Lisa and Jay in the past, so they know that I don't have to have a question, but can do a generalized reading too. So what do you want, Lisa? We have 39 comments. It's a pretty active little group here. We're good. What is happening from my job in the current months? Okay, so current months. Surrounding, you got it. It's so weird not to hear voices and just little faces come up. So that's kind of interesting. I feel like I'm in a little bit of a strange temple myself. Okay, so I'm thinking about Lisa's job in the surrounding months. Now I'm only using major arcana. So it's not going to be A1, it's going to be deep. And it'll be black and white and very clear, as opposed to with a lot of shades of the minor arcana. That's how I see that. Okay. So I have them here and I'll show them to you as they come. I have the Hermit reversed. Now, this is not a card we got to today. We will. You can look them up if you want to, but that's what card came up. I have the Lovers, not reversed. And then I have the Hierophant reversed. Okay. So there we go. So the Hermit, I will talk about each card, and then I will go back and talk about them together. So the Hermit reversed, let me show you this so you can see, because you would see if you were sitting with me. There he is. Okay, so he's a great, he sort of looks like Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings, right? He looks like a wizard. He kind of is either a wizard or a priest or a monk, somebody who's very highly spiritual, who's living on his own. And the number 9 is his number. Oops. His Roman numeral number is 9. And here he is, not reversed. Okay, so I'm going to read him, look at him like this, and then I'll turn him around. That's how you reverse a card. At least that's how I reverse a card. Everybody's different. So what I do is I look at it and say, okay, what is it? 9. Here he is, the Hermit. The Hermit represents solitude and being alone and being a teacher, which is perfect if you are a teacher. So I think Lisa's a teacher. There you go. So this is it, the teacher, holding aloft the light of knowledge and holding the staff of strength. Again, that staff, that's the same staff the Fool had way back in 0. This is up to 9 already. Just so you notice, every single card is signed by the artist. Please look her up. Let's talk about her next time. She kind of got the shaft in the tarot card world. Okay, so it's reversed. So Lisa, you're thinking about not holding the light aloft. Maybe you're thinking about changing directions and not teaching and not doing that kind of work anymore. Perhaps getting out of the classroom, getting out of a place that's that way where people come to you for knowledge. Maybe you're thinking about writing or expressing yourself in a blog or expressing yourself out in public more and looking for attention in a different way. I think perhaps you're feeling stifled in your current situation and are looking for a change in that and willing to step off the mountain or willing to step out of a cloistered life and more into the public. True, yay. Oh, that's good, I like that. Yay. All right, center card, the Lovers. So this is an interesting card in so many ways. If this comes up later on, this will be the next month, I guess. We'll probably get to this one. This is a card of polarity as well. We have male and female here. You see that it is male and female. He actually has a penis and she has breasts. Or so people say, though maybe they don't. So, go ahead and look it up because I see testicles. That's my opinion. So it's really Adam and Eve, and it's the angel of God coming down to Adam and Eve, which we know in the Garden of Eden and all the stuff that they did. And she's got behind her, she's got apples and a snake, and he's got this fire tail, and he's a devil. And, the same thing that we know, all the symbols we so know, right? So this is not reversed in your reading. And it's telling me, based on the first card, maybe, that you have a partnership of some sort. And there's somebody you're working with, either be your own person that you are involved with romantically or living with, or you are very close to another person. Doesn't mean that they're male or female, doesn't matter, that you're working with, that inspires you and helps you become and act and be fertile, helps you to produce, helps you to procreate your work. I'm not talking about babies, although if you're interested in having a child, this might be a good time for it. This is a time of fertility. This is a time when things are rising to you, coming down to you from the heavens. So this is a time where also joining between people it's a very good time for that. Okay, so we have also over here the number 4. 4 is the square, right? The square, 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. So things are contained within this card. This is about a relationship. This is about 2 people in one space. So with the Hermit card being reversed and this coming up after, it's almost like somebody may have said to you, hey, let's go do this now. Or let's try this now. Or don't you want to explore this now because you've done this? So you have this and this and this to offer. Let me help you find a way into it. So that's what I see with that. Then we have this card. And this is reversed. This is the Hierophant or the Pope, not the Popess, which we just looked at. But this is the Hierophant or the Pope himself, and he's got his minions on the bottom. They're praying to him. He's on his throne, and he's speaking to God, and he's passing down the word of God through him to the multitudes, and that's the Hierophant. And what it means this way is not reversed. Yours was reversed. Is I'm passing the word on. I am again declaiming. I know the way it is. I am the person that it comes from. I am the person that knows the path. I am the philosopher and teacher. I know all things. But this way, you're not so sure. And you're not so sure you want that. So I'm thinking you have a chance to have a position of power that makes you have to toe the line of what is the norm, what is the bureaucracy, what is the common thing, the way that it is done. But you're not feeling so happy with that you want to change that you don't want to be the vessel for the common idea. So the combination of the 3 of them, so I think, I don't know, you may want to change positions. If you're going into a higher position, you're going to need a partner or someone to assist you. Or if there is someone there already, then that person is really, guiding you onto your path. That they believe that you have something important and different to share. And you are not so sure maybe that you cannot be revolutionary, that you cannot be quiet, that you can toe the line and be the one. So just know, even though you might feel that you're leaving one place that feels stifling, the other may be as stifling in a different way. And you're going to have to rely on either your relationship outside of your work to fill yourself with fertility and love and passion, or you're going to have to find some others who you work with who feel the same way. Okay? That's you. 3 cards. All right, so I asked Jay, do you have it might be at home. It might be a relationship in the house. It might be, your person who you're with. It could be that person. It could be that. Who's the, your sort of right-hand person, the person who you believe in and who believes in you. the most. It could be at work, like I said, or it could be the person you are with as a partner in life. Could be that. So it could be that, you know, he or she or he, yeah, might just to help you through the transition because they believe in you as you are, and they know that you're going to have a difficulty. I think because we have this Hierophant reversed, you can have a difficulty just towing the line and doing the right political thing. But maybe they know how, and maybe they can help you do that. Maybe that's it too. Maybe that person can help you to figure out how to do the right speaking and engagement. And I have somebody like that in my life who helps me. So Jay, do you have a question? Hey. He's writing. I see the little dots, so he's writing. Anybody else that's here wants a reading? I have a little time. There are other people lurking around, but they're not talking, but that's fine too. You're more than welcome to not talk. You don't have to. Observing is great. That's perfectly fine. And I'm glad you're here watching, and thank you. So as Jay's writing, I'm shuffling. Because when you do a reading, that's a kind of a common thing they would do. They would shuffle. But when you're reading for somebody in distance or on phone, or even I've done it on chat like this, you can shuffle for them. He says, I have a lot going on right now. The next few months will be turning points of sorts. How's the rest of 2017 looking? Well, good thing it's only a few months, right? Well, it's kind of cool because we have October, November, December. Because we're like, well, we'll look at the scratch of September we're into. Why not? So a lot of things going on, and you want to know how the rest of 2017 is going. Here's another thing I do when I read and I pass on to my students. You can't see me doing it here because it's down here. I wish you could see my hands. When a card throws itself out of the deck, I kind of pay attention to it. So I just had the same card twice. We'll see if it shows up in your reading. Also, when cards move in certain directions, I try not to force them. I learned this from a really cool teacher I had when I was a bartender. This woman used to come in every day and drink one beer, and she used to teach me tarot. Like, we work on tarot every single day. I mean, for 2 years I saw her, and 2 years she would say, okay, what are we doing today? And we would talk, and we would do, and she would show me. And she learned gypsy reading, which is a little different. She was an exceptional card reader, and I was very blessed to have her. That was her tip every day, was her teaching. All right, so that's that. All right, Jay. Card 1, card 2, card 3. 3 card. You can do many more cards. You can do one, like I said, way before, or you can do, different kinds of layouts. And of course, I think once I get through with the major arcana, we might start talking about layouts a little bit. Just throw them out there. All right, so he has 3 cards. But 2 are reversed. I do read reversed. Some people do not. I do. This is Justice. Okay, Justice card is number 11. 11, 1 and 1. Right, this is about balance. This is about getting balanced. This is about being balanced and finding balance. Justice is very red, very passionate. But yet in the middle, and this is the card of Libra, which is where we are, or almost are, right? We're very close to Libra. Yes, we are. In a week, we're in Libra. And so that's the time of year when there is balance, when things do fall into a sort of a track where things get more organized. Except summer is a lazy, fertile time, and then beginning of the year for a lot of us in September is extremely difficult. Almost everybody hits the ground running after Labor Day and through Virgo and getting organized for the new year coming through. And then you have time in late September into October where most of us, particularly in the Northeast, have such a wonderful weather change and the beauty of the leaves and just amazing stuff happening until Christmas up here. So here's balance. Perfect time of the year for that. So how is this affecting you? You need to think about, are you balanced? Are you getting balanced? Will you need more balance? Do you need more time off? Do you need more time to rest? Do you need more time to work? Do you need to be more saying, this is this time for this, and this is this time for that? This is when I eat, this is when I sleep, this is when I work, this is when I drive, this is when I talk. Like this. Not so much Virgo tight organization, but sort of, okay, I've done this, now I'll do some of this. Yin, yang, on and off. I've slept, now I'm awake. I'm tired, so I sleep. I've worked, so I've rested. I have recreation, now I work. So keeping things in a very steady thing. And I always think of this card as walking on a tightrope. You have to walk between two things. If you stay obsessed on one side or the other, you will probably get sick, physically, mentally, or spiritually. You need to just sort of walk real slow and just make sure everything is balanced in the baskets. She has her balance scales right there. And by the way, now if you're looking at the Fool's right hand, has become a sword. I'm not going to get into the symbolism of the card deeply, but there it is. It's changed. This is what I told you would happen. We have different symbols. Then we have the card Lisa had before. We have the Hierophant. But again, like Lisa had before, we have it reversed. So although Jay is on a track and getting balanced or wanting to be balanced, he is also still feeling quite revolutionary. He's not wanting necessarily to do the paperwork, to toe the line, to tell everybody the company line. He doesn't want to really do that. He wants to try to do it in a new way. He has a truth and he knows truth, just as Lisa does. Truth. They know the truth. They know what it is. Yet they don't want to be the ones to disseminate it to the masses. They don't want to. And it's very interesting. I think both of you are teachers. So you don't want to go down the typical line of what is supposed to be taught and how it's supposed to be taught and how it's supposed to be said. Also, and Jay has another business, I think. So as that goes, you don't want to just be doing it normally. You want to find a way to do it unusually, but yet get the same truth out there. So it's a card that says to you, you've got to be more creative. It's time to be creative. And if you're going to tell the truth, how will you tell it in the most creative way? That's what that's about. Okay, and then we have the Star card. In this case, it's reversed. This is the Star card in the Rider-Waite deck. Here we go. Okay, so I love this card. This is 17 out of 21. We're getting really high up there in the cards. This is the card of Aquarius, the water bearer. And here is the symbol of the water bearer right here, bringing down the goodness of the all or the universe into emotional healing, putting water upon dry earth. Again, this is a great card for a teacher, somebody who is giving away or giving out information, either on the internet or as a teacher, as an educator, or as a lecturer of any sort. Here is how he has this card. He has it reversed. This tells me this is why, we'll get back into the justice in a moment, this is him feeling like he's given too much. It's enough now. He needs to take back some. He's exhausting himself and he's exhausting his own resources. And he needs love and he needs guidance and he needs care. So he needs to be asking for that. He needs to be saying, I need time, I need attention, I need nourishment, I need whatever he needs. You know, he has to find out what that is and he has to be able to express that. Jay, you got that? That's yours. So I'm going to talk about the three of them together. We have this, this, and this. So I can do it. And it's reversed. See, I'm going to read it from Justice is the first card in my case, right? So it's just, we're in a mirror. So when you look at a reading, I just did this at least until Lisa's on the bottom. Oh, I can't do this and look at that. It's making me dizzy. You look at the colors too, and you look at the shape, and you look at the size of things and how they correspond. And if you really want to get interested in interesting, and I have done this, I have one client who comes to me about once every 2 months, and she stays with me for an hour and sometimes more. And while we're doing stuff, she likes to talk about what's happening in her life as I'm reading. And as I'm reading, I get to do math. And and listen to her, of course, at the same time, but I'm also doing math and numerology. So if you have time, you look at the numbers. I like to add them up, see what they equal. I like to see what they mean in the reading. So we have but we'll start with the fact that we have 3, beginning, a middle, and an end. So Jay's asking what the rest of this year might bring for him. So I say the beginning is about balance. It's about getting things in order. It's about making sure that he is balanced emotionally, physically, spiritually, generally speaking, that all his work is balanced, that his home life is balanced with his work life, etc., 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 that he's making sure that he's taking care of all of that. Then we talk about the next second half of this season, the fall, and we're talking about him, feeling kind of like revolutionary, like he doesn't want to work as hard as maybe he should have to do. He doesn't want to say the things he's supposed to say. He wants to find a new way and an interesting way to teach and to give out information and to enlighten people, and not the same old routine way. And that he wants to shake things up and show the truth and in a new way. And Jay's a Sagittarius, yes. So Sagittarian's card is the Hierophant, and he has it reversed. Sagittarius like to say they know exactly how to tell the masses what to think. They believe in things like large churches and synagogues and religions, and they believe in the dogma of things. If it works, they want to tell you about it. They think they know, and they think they know a lot of things. Sagittarians, God bless them, think they know everything. Okay, so for Sagittarius to have a Hierophant reversed, saying he is now the student too. He's realized perhaps there's things that he's done a certain way for a very long time, and it's time to change that. And it's not really working for him anymore. And now the end of the season, we have the Star card reversed, and it's saying, this is a time to really take it easy, and that you need care and you need love and you need attention, and to ask for it, and to ask for time off, to ask for time to just be human and to really take care of yourself. The cards are saying, please be careful. You're doing a lot of things that you're changing your way of thinking, you're changing your way of expressing yourself, and you're getting yourself a little out of balance in the process. And you have to strive for that balance 100% of the time, and that would be your assignment for the fall. Okay, so there's that. What I'm doing here, I have a crystal, and I always use a crystal after I read, both on my hands and on the cards, because I want them clear of whatever reading was happening. So we have, say, 10 minutes or so, and if there's any questions, now's the time to ask about anything we covered here or not. You're more than welcome to share this with friends and send them to this group, because from this, I'm going to start talking about these 4 cards. Maybe we should do that. I mean, maybe put these cards up as that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the full card up tonight before I get off, and I'm just going to put it up as the card of the week, the full card. Let's discuss it. It's not a large group at this time, but I think that it can be, and I think that it can be an open space for lots of communication. I don't know, people don't necessarily always want to study all the symbolism of something. They want to just get to the reading, and you can do both. You can ask me how to do that. I can talk about different ideas with readings. You can start reading with these 4 cards if you want to right now. I think some people here, I see, have been here before or have read for a while, so you know how to maybe slice away your knowledge and go back to the drawing board for a little bit. I'll do it with you. I'll start with just the full card, and I'll do these 4 cards for the next month on my own, and we'll talk about what we got out of that. And if you miss a class or whatever this class, you can just get online and check it out at any point and watch it, and you can still comment all you like. I like that. That's why I did it on Facebook and not on YouTube, because it's just free to come in and you can read and listen, or turn it off or share it and compare it. And if you do find more things about these cards that I didn't say or I might not know, like the Hebrew letters, which aren't in the Crowley's deck, and that's my fault for not being prepared. I forgot they were there. now I'll be ready next month. But what didn't I hit? What do you want to hear? What can I cover? Okay, so I'm gonna pop off. I think we're good. Anybody have any other questions? Now it's not seeing. Oh, somebody's on my phone. So any other questions at all in any other way, you can always private message me. You can message me on the group too. You just message the group and you come right through there, and I'll get that and I'll get back to you. Meanwhile, do add people. You can add people. I'll add people to the group. If you have suggestions, send me their name. They can friend me on Facebook, and I can add them onto this group, and we can have a big fun time. All right, many blessings. May the God and Goddess watch over you, and may all things work out for you this month, and I hope you're doing well. Much love and everything else. May the tarot cards be with you. Bye.